Two massive NFT projects just launched with some of the biggest Discord communities out there. The HapeBeast NFTs have been anticipated for a couple of months, but the full Send NFT was announced and released in just about 72 hours. And when you look at the floor prices for these two projects, it would appear that one project is doing significantly better than the other, which raises the question, are influencer NFTs just big cash grabs? I'm Devin Cook. Today, we're gonna talk about two of the most massively hyped NFT projects and whether or not influencer NFTs are just big cash grabs. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Dev Money. So let's start off by talking about HapeBeast. They started their Discord on October 19th of 2021, and since then they have amassed a Discord of over 475,000 members, making it one of the biggest NFT communities out there. And that's extended over to Twitter as well, where they've gotten over 265,000 followers. And the HapeBeast collection consists of 8,192 next generation high fashion hapes. Each one is 3D and completely unique and were designed by a London-based studio called Digimental. The project aims to unite style, technology, community, and set up hapes as next generation fashion leaders. The roadmap is definitely not very detailed, it's kind of vague and very simple. The first phase, called the beginning, consists of a new dimension, the first drop, and music to Hape 2. Phase 2, titled the Hape Machine, will include second drops, special collections, and simian engineering. And finally, phase 3, named the Hape Walk, will involve clothing collars, Hape Couture, and the runway to fame. Now, a couple things to say about this roadmap. Number one, I like that they have a roadmap. I'm not the biggest fan of NFT projects that don't have a roadmap and they say they're just for vibes only. That's just not really my style. But keep in mind that just because an NFT project has a really good roadmap and they're promising some massive things, that doesn't mean that those things in the roadmap are actually gonna happen. And you need to take that into consideration when you're evaluating your risk exposure with a particular NFT project. The best NFT projects and the ones that are gonna be here for years and years to come are the ones that can properly execute on their roadmap and build great long-term value. And it can be tough to know which of the NFT projects are going to be able to do that, which is why it's so important that you do as much research on a particular project as possible. And with the HapeBeast roadmap, we don't really know a lot of what's going to happen because they were deliberately vague with the roadmap. But I'm actually expecting them to deliver in a massive way with their roadmap because they built such a strong community and they have so much pressure on them to deliver. The project consists of a team of 6 people with different responsibilities and specialties, from smart contracts to strategy to music. Minting for the HapeBeast project started on January 19th and runs for 5 days until January 24th. This is in an effort to reduce gas fees. And the mint price for each Hape costs 0.2 Ethereum plus the gas fees involved. And HapeBeast took a really interesting approach to launching their NFTs because there was no public sale whatsoever. You had to be on their whitelist, or as they call it, their Hape list. But the interesting thing about their Hape list is there weren't really any hard and fast rules for how you could get on their Hape list. A lot of projects say, well, if you boost the server, if you share their project on Twitter 16,000 times, or whatever the situation, you can get on the whitelist. It's pretty drawn out specifically for different projects, but not so with HapeBeast. Their Discord states that the Hape list status is awarded by hand to outstanding members of the Hape community, and that might mean you produce some art, some music, poetry, maybe even food, or anything else that represents Hape. And if a mod spots something or someone that they think is worth Hape listing, they share it in their private group, and then one person in the senior mod team is responsible for going through these proposals, checking and changing the status if they agree. And on occasion, the alphas are even going to award the Hape list status on their own. And depending on your status on the Hape list, if you just have a normal Hape list status, you can mint 1 Hape, and if you have an OG status, you can mint 2 Hapes. And since the start of the public sale and these Hapes have been listed for sale on OpenSea, the secondary market has really taken off for these Hapes, and the floor price is sitting somewhere around the 7 Ethereum mark, which means that if you got to mint one of these Hapes for 0.2 Ethereum, that's a 3,500% return on your investment, which is pretty spectacular. And you can see that each Hape still has the pre-revealed placeholder image right now, and they haven't yet announced when they're going to reveal the art, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty soon. Now let's talk about the full Send Metacard NFTs. Now, if you've never heard of the brand Full Send before, it's from the NELK boys and their popular NELK YouTube channel, which has been massively successful, and from that channel, they've built the Full Send brand. And as a lot of highly influential people and people with massive social followings have done these days, they decided to release an NFT project to their community, and they called it the Full Send Metacards. Now, there are definitely some varied opinions about influencer NFTs that you can read about all over the internet, but one of the benefits that I see with influencer NFTs is that you have a fully doxed team behind the NFT project. And so with a project like the Full Send Metacards, if you're interested, you can look into Full Send the brand, you can look at the NELK boys on YouTube, you can look at them on their social platforms, their Wikipedia, news articles, and there's just a bunch of different resources that you can use to look look into the NELK boys, their brand, and what they've done in the past. And as a quick disclaimer to throw in here, I've not been sponsored by either of these projects, and I currently have zero money invested in either of these projects as well. They started their Discord on January 17th, and very quickly their Discord rose to over 300,000 members. And then rather surprisingly, the next day on January 18th, they announced their NFT Metacards and that they would be available to purchase the following day, January 19th. And what makes this somewhat unusual is that most NFT projects, they start a Twitter, they start a Discord, and at the minimum, they'll take a couple of weeks, but most of the time they'll take a couple of months to build awareness for their project before they release it. And so when the Full Send guys started a Discord and announced and released their project within 2 days, that took a lot of people by surprise. It was really fast. The whitelist pre-sale was 9:30 on the 19th, with a public sale 3 hours later at 12:30, and the mint price was 0.7 Ethereum for each Metacard, and you could mint up to 10 Metacards per wallet, but only 1 Metacard per transaction. There are 10,000 NFT Metacards, and they will act as a mint pass, and holders will get first access to the many other NFT projects that they will drop, including the Happy Dad project and Full Send collabs with other NFT projects. Holders will get access to exclusive Full Send events, owners will get access to Full Send physical locations, including lounges and more, and owners will have exclusive access to Full Send merch not available to non-holders. And a Metacard will grant you early access to Full Send's virtual world. We got a lot of ideas for virtual events, to community meetups, to branded goods, and Metacard holders will be the first in line to access these. So essentially, a Metacard is going to get you future access to different products and brands and events from Full Send that they're going to be releasing in the future. And that might seem strange that you're buying an NFT for a promise of future utility that you don't really know what it's going to be, but keep in mind 10 years from now, every country club membership, every airline ticket, every event ticket is all going to be in the form of an NFT. It's the future. And since launch, the secondary sales on OpenSea have been floating around the 1 Ethereum mark, which is about a 45% return. And if we take our thinking out of crypto land and NFT land for a second, we can realize that getting a 45% return on your investment within a couple of days is substantial. But we're also comparing that to the 3,500% return from HapeBeast, and so 45% just doesn't seem very high. And both of these projects, HapeBeast and Full Send, have a massive presence on social media, and they have 2 of the biggest Discords in the NFT space. Although I do think it's a fair point to say that Full Send has a bigger presence across all social media platforms combined. And at least in the short term, since both of these projects have been released, it's very clear that one of these projects, HapeBeast, has done a lot better than the other one. And why is that? And what does it take for an NFT project to become super successful? Because as we can see from both of these projects, who both have large social followings, it's pretty apparent that having a large community isn't going to guarantee you a high level of success when you launch your NFT project. And this is where we as an NFT community need to have a fundamental shift in how we think about NFTs as investments. Throughout the world, those that know about NFTs really think of them as cool art, a digital asset, an alternative investment, and maybe even a get-rich-quick scheme. And depending on which NFT project that you're looking at, any of these definitions can fit. But if you want your NFTs to become increasingly more valuable in the future, the project has to stop being just a project, and it needs to transform itself into a full-fledged business and brand. We talked about roadmaps earlier, and really a roadmap in my mind is just another term for business plan. There are tons of NFT projects that have built success really quickly, but then have since crashed and burned and pretty much went to zero. And in my opinion, 2 of the best examples we can look to in the NFT space to see what a successful NFT project looks like is the Bored Ape Yacht Club, of course, and VeeFriends. Bored Ape Yacht Club has been massively successful at building brand awareness and driving extreme demand for their products. I mean, just look at that floor price of about 85 Ethereum. They've executed well on their roadmap, i.e. their business plan, and they've done some massive collaborations with brands like Adidas. And VeeFriends may not have the floor price that Bored Ape Yacht Club has, but their IP has already been built out in some pretty meaningful ways. There's been a collaboration with Uno, a one-off wine collaboration, and a Christie's auction for the original drawings of VeeFriends. But no matter what the project is, in order for it to retain its value in the long term, it needs to have an increased perception of its underlying value by building out its brand image. And so by looking at HapeBeast, it would appear that it's doing a better job at building out its brand image than Full Send Metacards, at least at this point. And I think if Full Send had spent more time building out its community, even though it was already massive, and specifically educating its community on what they're going to do in the future and about the NFT space as a whole, their project probably would be much more successful than it is right now. Not to say it's not successful, because again, remember, 45% return. return. That's still pretty good. But I do think if they spent more time educating, it could be even higher than it is right now. But regardless of where they're at right now, both projects, HapeBeast and Full Send, could both end up at zero 6 months from now if they don't properly execute on their vision. And remember that once an NFT has launched, is minted, and is then sold out, that's not the end. In fact, that's just the beginning. You really have to think of a new NFT project like a new tech startup. When a tech startup gets its first round of funding, it can be really exciting. If you're an investor, it can seem like a surefire way to get rich. But in all reality, you're really just taking the first steps. It's extremely risky, and there's no guarantee that you're ever going to see a return on your investment. So was the Metacard and other influencer NFTs just a big cash grab? Well, as far as the Metacard goes, I think it's too early to tell. If they do nothing with the project from here on out and it just goes stale, then yeah, it was a cash grab and they pretty much just took everyone's money. But on the other hand, if they continue to build out their brand like they've already done for years, and they continue to provide value to their community through these Metacards, then yeah, they can become massively successful. It's all in the execution. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.